Good morning, everyone. As you can tell by my absence from the classroom, I'm not there today. I'm home. I'm sick, but not terribly so. I did test myself to make sure that I don't have anything serious that could be transmissible and threaten anyone. So I'm kind of taking the day off to make sure nothing progresses, and we'll be back tomorrow for your benchmark, unless things go catastrophically badly. Um, so I'm not planning for that to be the case, but I don't think people generally do plan for that to be the case. So I want us to have an opportunity to do some benchmark review. So I'm going to put together this video for you. I will be going through some of the questions from your assignment today. As well as just some general topics that we've covered this 9 weeks as we've talked about life science. And I will be blowing my nose a lot. I will be stopping to take drinks a lot. I'm very thirsty and a little puny, so please forgive that. But I wanted us to be able to have the opportunity, at least for some review. So if nothing else, you can put this on, listen to it on headphones like it's a podcast you're not particularly interested in, and hopefully some of it will commit to memory. You are welcome to watch this at home as many times as you'd like, but I want us to just go through, look at those standards that we've covered. I'm always harping on about the standards, and I know that my classroom looks like a conspiracy theorist lives there because there are so many standards and so many arrows connecting those standards that it looks like I've plotted out, how I think aliens built the pyramids, but really it's just that life is a web. Everything is very interconnected, and we need to see that as we look at those standards. All right. So did I bring my journal home? No. I failed as a student, but I didn't plan on being here. So Tennessee Life Science Grade 6, our textbook. Remember to go always when you're checking your standards to Roman numerals, pages 34 and 35, or as many of us are still calling them, XXXIV and XXXV. Gotta learn Roman numerals. I'm gonna make this, I don't know, like a bonus for next 9 weeks. All right. So most of our standards here are going to come out of 6.ls2, which is our ecosystems, interactions, energy, and dynamics section. And then a lot of them, or a few others, are going to come out of 6.ls4, which is about biological change. And one out of like our Earth's system things, because when we're looking at biomes, remember we are tying that into climate data. Climate being the average of weather over a long period of time versus weather. Sorry, I hit a button I didn't mean to. Not now, Siri. This is probably why I need to wear my glasses. But I think they're in my classroom too. We were looking at climate data. So climate, again, is that average of weather over a long period of time, like a very long, decades to hundreds to thousands of years of time, versus weather, the condition of the atmosphere at one place at one time. Okay, so we have made it through all of these. And I'm so thankful for you guys for your cooperation. The vast majority of you really just, you got engaged in the conversations. The work that I've seen turned in on projects, a lot of it is just really, really top notch. I mean, it's what I would expect out of high school students. Some maybe like turn them in next time, but like for the most part, I've seen some really great stuff and heard some great discussions this 9 weeks. So I'm cautiously optimistic, but proud of you nonetheless. All right. So the first one that we came up on is 6.ls2.1. Evaluate and communicate the impact of environmental variables on population size. So this is where we got into having to know the organization of life in terms of what is a population, what is a community, what is an ecosystem, those sorts of things. So we know that a population population is all of the, don't do it. Do not push my cup off the table. That cat, sorry. All of the organisms of one species in one area. So, talking about populations, I could talk about the population of cats on my dining table, which is one too many. I could talk about the population of cardinals in my backyard. I could talk about the population of deer in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, of copperheads in North America. Anything as long as I have a defined area and one defined species. That's it. So when we're looking at environmental variables on population sizes, we're looking at how it affects one species at a time, like one group of species in one area at a time. So we've talked about environmental variables. If we talk about things that are varying, if I say, oh, the weather is supposed to be slightly above average temperatures with variable cloud cover, we know that means it's something that can change and can change pretty quickly. If you're talking about a variable in mathematics, you're going to be talking about, not just a letter that stands for a number, but something that can be changed. There's a logical equation, modus ponens, where we have x equals y. So in any instance that x changes, y will therefore also change. Variable just means things are changing. So what are the things that can change in the environment? Remember, we have all kinds of factors that are necessary for biological survival. So our abiotic factors, like weather, can change. We know that we can have periods of drought and flood that could change things. We know that natural disasters can affect population size. We know that wildfires, which I guess are a natural disaster, can affect population size. Weather is a big one. We know that rising temperatures, and this kind of ties back in with climate data, globally are affecting population sizes. The other big things are food supplies. So, if we see a population of moose go down, we will probably see the population of wolves that prey on those moose also go down. And then, we've kind of looked at that predator-prey interaction. I hear you. Going on. Come on. Just look, you want to be on camera. I get this cat. So we've got to keep in mind things like food supply, water availability, any of these things that can change in the environment. If we're looking at things like habitat loss, when all of a sudden a lot of habitats and things or places where things would be getting their shelter and what they need to survive and thrive are being threatened, this can really take a population size down pretty quickly. Come on, you can do it. Okay, do you need help? Are you too tuppy to make that jump? Here you go. So, that's that one. Anything that can change affecting a population size. And, it's not always that it's going to take it down, right? If we have like an excess of acorns one year, we might see all of the animals in a deciduous forest doing really well. So, there could be a few things at play. Maybe we have like very favorable growing conditions, like extra water. We had extra enriched soil from leaf fall the year before, and all of our oak trees are doing a great job. So they produce tons of acorns. So everybody, the tree rats, squirrels, the chipmunks, baby tree rats, the deer, the elk, the bear, everybody that eats those acorns is going to have like an extra food supply. So we might see a population boom the next year. And then if we don't have enough food to sustain that, we might see it drop. So, this is something that's going to just sort of cycle through. Determine the impact, or our second standard, 6.ls2.2, determine the impact of competitive, symbiotic, parasitic, no, I'm just kidding, but it feels like it. Symbiotic and where'd my standard go? Predatory interactions in an ecosystem. All right, so competition. We've talked about this. This is not like, who wins the Heisman Trophy. This is fighting over the same limited resources to survive. All the organisms in the area fighting over the same limited resources. And I mean, is it necessarily fighting in the way of like fisticuffs? No, not necessarily, but sometimes. So what are those resources? Again, food, water, shelter, and mating privileges. Finding a boyfriend or girlfriend, little husband or wife, or whatever that is. So we're going to see competition emerge in a lot of different ways. The impacts of competition can be pretty interesting. Most the important takeaway is that most competition happens inside of one species. We will see, deer trying to compete with each other for mates. We will see competition in deer trying to survive hunting season. Deer getting enough of the food supplies, and it's going to be there. Competition between species doesn't happen as much because of the adaptations they have that allow them to have more speciality in their niches, or however we want to pronounce that word. I'm good. I've said it every way this 9 weeks, and I just don't know anymore. So anyway, Dr. Field says niches. I'm going to stick with that. Okay. So we see, more specialized things happening there. We talked with the warblers learning to live in different parts of a tree and kind of like do things at slightly different times of the year to reduce competition, because reduced competition means like everybody thrives. And like when we have more biodiversity, we have a healthy ecosystem. That's where things tend toward that sort of equilibrium and things being good. All right, draw conclusions about 6.ls2.3 about the transfer of energy through a food web and energy pyramid in an ecosystem. Conveniently, you're doing a project on this right now. And you're also reviewing climate data of a temperate deciduous forest, which pops up on Tennessee's stuff a lot because we, live in a temperate deciduous forest. Sorry. So anyway, we, when we're looking at that, we know how this happens. The source of all energy for life on Earth, except for weird chemosynthetic things that we don't talk about. It's not my windows, it's the sunlight. That's what I'm getting at. But I realize I just gestured toward that. I have a terrarium back here. It's benefiting from the sunlight. Sun comes in, it hits our producers. Bottom level of the pyramid, producers. They are called producers because they can produce their own food. Remember, we find them in the produce section. Most commonly going to be plants, thrown in with some non-vascular plants like algae, and then things like phytoplankton. Things that can photosynthesize, make things from light. And they take this light energy, they take some water, they take some carbon dioxide, and then they make glucose. It's amazing. And they make glucose and oxygen. So that's a great one. Remember, photosynthesis adds oxygen. We've all missed this one so many times, me included. I'm not proud. It's not a great look for me as a science person to miss that question. But bottom line is I didn't read the question well. So we know that we go from producers. All right, we lose 90% of that energy moving up to our first level consumers. First level consumers, these are the vegan teachers of the animal world. So these are our buddies that are just coming along. They're eating nothing but plants. I mean, I'm down for a good vegan curry sometimes, but like I don't know if I could cut it. I'm really big on cheese. So they're eating nothing but plants all the time. Right. So are things like deer, are pollinators and a lot of insects like bumblebees, hummingbirds. Not implying hummingbirds are insects, but I am implying that they are pollinators. So sorry. Anyway, so, we see grazing animals, deer, antelope, bison, cows. Are they necessarily going to be small? No, elephants are vegetarians, and they absolutely could trample you and stomp you into, being a hashtag. So don't associate it with small creatures. There are very small creatures that are first level consumers, but not all of them, right? Then we move up Third level of the pyramid, second level of producers. Consumers. Second level consumers. These are our omnivores. Remember, break down the words. Omni means all, like if we're talking about an omniscient author, an omniscient point of view at a narrator in a story, it means like they know everything. If we're talking about like an omnipotent deity in Mr. McQueen's class, it's an all-powerful thing. So in this case, we're talking about omnivorous. Omni means all, vorous means eat. It means they're eating it all. They are out there. They're like, yes, I would love to have some salami. Ooh, could you please throw in some asparagus with that? I love to roll them up together. It sounds great. Some toasted almonds. I mean, in the animal, I'm just describing myself, but like in the animal kingdom, it's going to be a little more varied. So here's where it gets tricky, because we have things like black bears that, they're omnivores. They eat all the things, but they could also be considered an apex predator, because like people or other animals don't really tend to like hunt down black bears. Maybe the cubs, but in general, they're not like a food source for other things. So these are going to be kind of like, the best way to think of them is like our medium-sized organisms, a lot of times, that sort of eat the same things we do. If they get into human trash and are chowing down, they're probably a second level consumer. So, the trash panda, big one. North America's only marsupial, the Virginia opossum, big one. Skunks, mice, rats, these are going to be things that all work really well. Most birds, chickens, turkey, things like this. And people are really surprised. They're like, but I thought these guys ate like seeds. That's why we have bird seed. Yeah, but they also like, go around just chowing down on like, worms. Lots of insects fall in this category. Lots of things are omnivores. And then 90% of our energy is lost again. So at the top, dealing with 0.1 or 0.1% of the original energy entering this system are our third level consumers. These are our carnivores. Carne meaning flesh, vorous meaning eat, things that eat flesh. So this is where, we see our apex predators, our wolves, our sea otters, our, big fish that eat smaller fish. I can't remember what they're called right now. Sharks. And, there are lots of predatory fish. So, this is where our predators lie. We often villainize them. We should not. It's very hard to be a predator. You're competing with all the other predators for that, like, 1/10 of 1% of food. It's a lot. So let's take a look real quick at a couple of different trophic pyramids and some of the things that you might run into on this test tomorrow. I don't remember how to present my screen. Oh, we have a button for it now. Allow Google to observe my screen. That sounds so creepy. Oh, look, an infinity mirror. Okay. So I'm just going to skip on over here. Yeah, I know that I'm presenting to everyone. Okay, so taking a little look-see. If we look at trophic pyramids, and that does get us into the idea of a keystone species and a trophic cascade, what we are, mostly going to see will line up with what I said. With that said, this is showing, you know what, let's not do a marine one because we haven't talked as much about those sorts of things. I'm really I feel like these are all very basic. But okay, fine. I'll use this one, I guess. No, I'll use this one. This seems like a good one. Sorry, guys. Again, I'm doing this without glasses, so I can't see. Okay, maybe not the best choice. Again, we're going to see like, well, this one's just grossly inaccurate. Okay, never mind. The big point that I want to get to can be demonstrated here. what we're going to see is like populations are very large on the bottom and the energy level is high. And both population and available energy go down as we move up through our primary, secondary, and tertiary, or first level, second level, and third level consumers. This is that it is not an inverse relationship. It is a, I'm going to say direct correlation, but that's not right. A direct relationship. There's a word for it. It's the opposite of inverse, and I don't remember what it is. Relationship that goes on here. So we are going to see high population, high energy at the bottom. We are going to see low energy amounts and small populations at the top. Remember, we're always going to have decomposers popping up at every level. Things are going to be just like dying off at random, and that's that. We'll take a second and watch one of our review videos on this. You've already seen it, so feel free to skip this. Feel free to skip this entire thing that I'm doing. I just really want to try to help you guys as much as I can. Okay, so just real quick on our trophic levels. I'm hoping this is not something I have to correct a lot. Oh, Grammarly. Sure. Wait, you know what? I'm not recording this in Chrome, so the sound is not going to come up. Let me turn on the captions, and I will read along to you. Okay, there are no captions. Well, that's a real bummer. Okay. So you know what? I'm just gonna pull up a Chrome tab. I'm gonna go to YouTube. I'm gonna pull up the same video. Let's see, what are we? Trophic levels. Sorry, guys, this is taking a little while. Okay, so I've got to remember to do that. Okay, so energy flow in ecosystems, we are going right back there. Hey, buddy. And guys, remember 90% of the energy lost each time. Whoa, let's look at this ecosystem for a second and see how well you're doing at spotting abiotic and biotic patterns of an ecosystem. Looks like we see a pretty good steady flow of water, indicating 50 to 80 inches of rain yearly. We see broadleaf trees starting to change color, indicating that the leaves on those trees are gonna go fall down. We see a very active forest floor, indicating to us that there is very fertile soil from that leaf litter, and also that sunlight is able to reach the forest floor through at least part of the year. And this tells us that we are in a dun 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 dun. If you said temperate deciduous forest, you are right. Okay, so I do want to hit a little bit of like something that's kind of not accurate here. Um, so there's a lot of debate over whether smaller carnivores should go into secondary consumers because they get eaten so often. I'm a firm believer that carnivores should stay in tertiary, but if you see a question that is loaded this way, roll with it. Um, and the idea that each level just eats the one below it is inaccurate. So, tertiary consumers, yeah, sure, they may pick off a raccoon, but it's ridiculous to assume that, a mountain lion is not going to also go after the primary consumers like sheep and livestock that are largely responsible for them being hunted to extinction. Same with wolves. They're going to eat primary consumers as well. They're just like basically straight up like eating everybody in here. Hey, buddy. Aw. Told you. Nope. Okay. So this guy basically just kind of confirms everything I am saying, and I'm switching back over. Okay. Remind me somehow, I don't know, psychically, that I can't watch YouTube videos here or the sound will not pick up. Okay. 6.ls2.4. We just got over this one. Using evidence from climate data. So we're going to be looking at latitude. That is a big determining factor in climate. We're going to be looking at altitude, how high above sea level something is, big determining factor in climate. Those sorts of things draw conclusions about the patterns of abiotic and biotic factors in different biomes, specifically the tundra, taiga, deciduous forest, grasslands, rainforest, marine, and freshwater ecosystems. That's right, marine is just considered a biome. Somebody's like, hey, guess what? The ocean's a biome. That's not how it works. There's so many ecosystems in there. Anyway, so you have everything from like chipper coral reefs to like where anglerfish are, and those things are like 2 feet taller than I am. I mean, that's terrifying. Like this nightmare fuel can't be the same biome. Anyway, I don't make the science; I just teach the science. So, when we're going through and looking at this, remember what I told you. The three things that you need to look for are latitude. Where is it? If it's in the tropic zone, you know it's going to be grasslands, maybe. We have tropical grasslands, a tropical rainforest, or probably a desert. Those are the three that are like existing in the tropical zones. If you see that it is in the frigid zones, above 60 degrees, 66 degrees, north or south latitude, that's going to be your tundra and maybe a little bit of your boreal forest. Maybe. Um, if we're looking at the mid latitude areas, which again are not the ones around the equator, those are the tropics. They're the ones that run 30 to 60 degrees roughly, kind of in the middle of the poles, and it's where we live, right? Things are neither too hot nor too cold. It's kind of the Goldilocks zone of Earth. This is where we can find taiga or boreal forest. We find we find deserts. Most of our deserts actually. We find temperate grasslands, temperate deciduous forests. Lots and lots of things are there because there's a big variation. Remember, not everywhere in the mid latitudes is going to have exactly the same climate. So look at that. Look at the dominant vegetation. If the dominant vegetation is like, waxy, it's trying to avoid being killed by wind and snow, you can guess tundra. Small little shrubby things that can't grow past that permafrost, shrubby things, tundra. If it's coniferous, not carnivorous trees, our Christmas trees, we are in the boreal forest. If the leaves on the trees fall down, deciduous forest. If it's grass, it's grasslands. That's about it. If it's something that's going to be really trying to hold in water, you can guess desert pretty safely. There are other places that try to conserve water, but that's a safe bet. And then of course, if it's tropical foliage, it's probably a tropical rainforest. And that's that. Your abiotic patterns, the things that you're going to be looking at. We've gone over those, and I feel confident that you will get them. So again, it's latitude, climate, dominant vegetation. We looked at 6.ls2.5, analyzing evidence about invasive species. Well, we looked at a few. We saw zebra mussels coming in and like wreaking havoc in our streams. We know that there are a lot of introduced fish. Like agriculture tends to introduce a lot of things that aren't great. Mimosa trees have been a problem. And then we, of course, looked at the hemlock woolly adelgid, that little sap-sucking aphid thing from Japan that is coming in and wiping out our hemlock forests. Hey, buddy. Yeah, stop, honey. All right. So, it's designing solutions to mitigate the impact. Remember, when you were thinking about this, you have to consider the long-term consequences. A solution to like injured hemlock forest, if people are like, well, I don't want the hemlock forest to be sick anymore. Well, we could just burn them all down, then they won't be there and they won't be sick. That's terrible. Bad solution. Dumb idea. If someone says, hey, we could come up with a targeted pesticide that works only on this particular pest. Okay, fine. We want to release another non-native species. Good idea, bad idea? I don't know. Like maybe we should do some research before, more non-native species come along. Research ways in which an ecosystem has changed over time in response to changes in physical conditions, population balances, human interactions, and natural catastrophes. You are working on this today through pages 150 through 159. You'll see a lot of things there, and we've looked at things like with TVA, how damming up the rivers in Tennessee led to the extinction of like 70% of our species of fish, but also how humans can like do things to promote recovery, putting in nature preserves, things like that. We saw that with the prairie and what was being done there. Compare and contrast auditory and visual methods of communication. Remember auditory? It's like, can you hear me? Visual is like, it's just things you can see. So, those things overlap. I think that you will be good there. How do they help in terms of populations surviving? Sometimes it's things like warning coloration, where something has adapted to have a visual cue that says, hey, I am poisonous, or I am a jalapeno sky raisin, when really it's not, it's just a moth. But they use mimicry. That's a big one. Auditory communication. We have to think about mating calls, all of those sorts of things. The threatening sounds, the sounds that things make to be like, hey, there's food here. The sounds that things make to be like, hey, there's food here and I'm eating it. Stay away. That is a sound that you often hear from me. So those are all there. Biodiversity impacting ecosystem stability. We know that the more niche diversity that we have, the more niches that are very similar to each other in a very biodiverse area, we maybe can afford to lose one of those things and other stuff will kind of fill in. Less biodiversity, less stable ecosystem, generally speaking. Maintaining biodiversity of ecosystems while providing necessary human resources without disrupting environmental equilibrium, well, that's a big one. But if we think about the city of Burlington and what we studied there, we saw that, the way that they build their dams allow, fish to get through. So it allows humans to meet their needs. It also allows the fish to meet their needs. We've seen like what selective foresting looks like. We saw in our little discussion about the destruction of the Amazon, we saw that when the right people are in power, they were able to say, hey, you can farm here, but you can only farm 20% of the land you have, and you have to protect the rest as rainforest. And it was able to let humans meet their needs, have a good income, have a good, reliable source of food and things to meet their needs, while also preserving really critical rainforest environments. Wow, guys, I think we, I think we did it. I think that was just really quick benchmark review. So again, read through the journal pages. They're still up on Google Classroom. Take a minute, watch the sage grouse. It's always funny. You have a little bit of extra information on Tundra. It's, I think, a little more complicated to understand. You've got your tropical rainforest notes. You have like all the notes that we have down here. Read through the biomes. Like if you read through just these pages and review them, that will help you so much. And it does not take very long. You still have like slideshows, read through the life science overview, big help. Watch any of these video lessons, big help. I would say, especially with competition, this is one that I've seen us miss more than anything as we've done all of our benchmark reviews. We're still studying with like competition and predation. Those are the two main ways organisms interact: competition and predation. So I would say just get in as much review as you can. And our like, you guys have done a great job. I've gotten really good feedback in class, and I am hoping and praying that this translates to our exam tomorrow, and we'll see how I did. It's up to me to teach you. Your job's just to learn. My job is to make sure that you're doing that. So it's us meeting each other in the middle, and hopefully things turn out well. So on that note, I'm gonna go drink a whole lot of water and have some like ramen or chicken soup or something, and try to get myself back into working shape. So take care. Check out Class TikTok. There's an interesting thing there, and I'll talk to you guys later.